Hi everyone, welcome back. I need to scoot back some. I'm a little bit too close. It feels good this morning, actually. It feels great. It feels blessed. Especially after I just finished doing my house chores. I love agua. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get right into this video. This is a part 3. The final installation to the series on Raceplay interracial relationships that came at the request of one of my subscribers who sent me an email talking about an issue that he had in his cuckold marriage. So I'm going to read you guys his reply email that he sent to me in response to my Raceplay and interracial relationships part 2 video. Alright, what's going on here? What's going on? My Gmail has to warm up, I guess. How are you guys doing, by the way? Happy Saturday. Someone else sent me another video topic request. I may address it next week. We'll see. Alright. Hold on. Let me find this email. Buried in all these other emails that I have. Okay. Where are you? Scroll down. Alright, so this is a part 3. Check it. Hold on, I feel like I need to move this up some. So I can rest my feet here. He says, just watch your video and there are some things I wanted to clear up. There's nothing worse than being misunderstood, I guess, right? So, you guys gotta go back because I'm going to review what I said in my previous video. I'm just not in the mood for that today. But he says, yes, this is a real thing that my wife and I do. It's not fiction, because I did hint towards the idea that it sounds a little bit superficial. But he says it's real. So we'll go with that idea. My wife's first pregnancy was not planned. We do try to have sex with birth control. Okay. My wife's anxiety came from her side of the family. Her family is very judgmental and very conservative. We don't think they know. Now, of course, I made some interpretations that he clearly began with this email stating that it wasn't true. He denied some of it, some part of it, right? And he's going to get into what is true, what isn't true, based on my video response in the part 2 that I made, right? I find it interesting, though. I do this oftentimes with my clients where I'll kind of throw out, like, little misfacts, statements, just to get my client to come to the truth, right? Because the truth is there. We all know that the truth is always inside. But to bring it out, for people to be forthcoming with the truth just off bat, right, off rip, it's difficult sometimes for people just to say what it is. They'll take you like all around the corner, all around the entire world before they actually just state what it is, right? Just say it. But I get it. There's stigma attached to it, so it's difficult to say it sometimes, right? So sometimes I like to throw out like little misfacts, just so that people can make themselves clear. Like, let me make myself clear. No, that is not true. I did that with my client recently about Mother's Day. I said, so you didn't hang out with your mom on Mother's Day. It means that Mother's Day, or spending time with your mother on Mother's Day, It's not that important to you. And he was like, no, 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 no. It was funny to see his reaction. No, 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 that's not true. That's not true. I'm like, yo, this is the most I've ever seen him talk. And he is an adult with autism, so I thought that was hilarious. I had to laugh with him. Because I see that he was uncomfortable in that moment. But it's just, I like to challenge people. Like, that's what it's about. Like, challenging people to just speak your truth, okay? Just say it. It's okay. Make yourself clear like he's doing in this video. I mean, in this email here. But, hold on. I got to address the person is very judgmental. So, just to give you guys a little bit of backdrop. Because I know some of y'all like, what? Alright, so this guy, he's a white man married to a black woman. He identifies himself as a cuckold. They had a situation in their marriage where there was a bull, I guess, that was invited into the marriage. A black bull. He impregnated his wife. Surprise, surprise. Like, supposedly she was taking birth control. By surprise, by mistake, she got pregnant, right? That part don't make sense to me, but I'm like, all right, we'll go with it. I guess assume that she was taking birth control. She got pregnant. Her family is pretty positive. I mean, no doubt about it, and no surprise that the baby isn't the child of the white husband, right? It makes sense. Like, come on, it's a darker skinned baby. How the hell are you gonna get this black baby from this interracial situation here? This dark-skinned baby. No, that baby got a black father, clearly, right? Makes sense. It's like some Jerry Springer shit, right? That's why I was a little bit hesitant, a little bit reluctant to do this video. But I'm like, all right, let's just go with it. But the whole idea about her family being judgmental and is very conservative, I'm like, it makes me question, like, how old is this couple? I mean, granted, it can be a cultural thing, a mental thing, but it can be a cultural thing in the sense that people just, within certain cultures, like, families are very close-knit, tight-knit, and there's less autonomy within individuals in that family unit. And so it's pretty much like what the family says goes. Like, if the family is opposed to something, that it can really have a major impact on interpersonal relationships based on what the family says. It's almost like a gang culture, right? It's just like you have to adapt, you have to assimilate to this kind of subculture of a family and what their ideas and what their attitudes and beliefs are. And it comes at the expense of you kind of disassociating yourself from your own individual personal beliefs and practices, and that's never been me. That's why I'm a bit like, what? How old is this? How old are you guys? And I mean, he clearly said that he's white and his wife is black, but I'm just like, I get it, especially within, I think, certain subcultures like African American culture. You know, family is really important, and it's like, yeah, family has a major say-so in a lot of aspects, right? A lot of like decisions that are made in grown-ass adult children. Just like, but I don't know, I grew up different. Like, granted, I love my family loves me, they care about me, I care about them, but I had to set those boundaries early on. Like, listen, I'm my own individual, you know. I had to make it clear that I'm an autonomous person. So yes, while you may have a certain perspective, a certain attitude, a belief about what I do, that's just your belief. Like, that's not going to impact me and choices that I make, because I got to live my life, right? You got to live your life. And you one day will die. In terms of, you know, my parents, my siblings, whoever in my family who may have an opinion about what I do. And I'm going to continue to live my life. So I kind of never understood how sometimes, like, people's family, I mean, I understand it, don't get me wrong, I understand it, but it's just, I don't know, it's kind of unnerving to me to see how people's family can just have that much of a major impact on their own individual interpersonal decisions like they make and just living their life. Even in terms of dating, right? I have to put a pause right here and interject this part because it's really important that even like when it comes to me dating, I've always been the most like autonomous person. I think that's why I mesh well with people like men who are also autonomous. You know, like we have this same degree of autonomy, individuality. Like that's how it's gonna work. Because if a guy is all up in mesh with his family, he has this like really tight knit, close knit relationship, so to the point where it's like always about what my mom says, and I gotta go spend time with my mom and my dad. I'm like, God damn. When are you going to branch away to build your own family and make your own decisions independent of your relationship to your biological family that you were born to? When are you going to be able to do that? It's not all guys I date, but it is, you know, a significant handful of guys that I've come across, and that to me is just, it's a turnoff. You know, if it's not the mom and dad, it's, oh, my sisters. And I'm just like, go fuck your sisters. Go fuck your mom. Like, when are you going to create your own family and make decisions for you, the family that you create? That to me is important. So, I get it. It's clearly shown here that we have some blurriness of lines and boundaries within this family unit, and you know, I get it, right? You know, there is there's a biological family unit, right? And then there's of course this extended family, and it's too much. Her family is very judgmental and very conservative. They call it the nuclear family, right? The nuclear family is like the family that you were born to. And then, of course, you have, like, the family that you create, the extension of that. And it's just, I feel like once you are married, like, that is your family. Yes, it's not that you neglect, like, your biological family, right? Or your nuclear family, so to speak. But, you know, like, come on. There has to be some boundaries set here. That's when we run into problems. But you say you don't think that they know. Now, granted, this is going to be the final installment. I am not coming back with a part 4. So, if you want to respond to this video, by all means, feel free in an email. But I'm not going to come back because I feel like I've given a lot of attention to this. You can thank me. I appreciate your thanks and your gratitude. But I'm not going to keep going on and on and on and on about this. I feel like we've given enough energy to this, right? So be thankful for 3-part video. So he says, you had asked, does this really bring me pleasure? To be honest, it does. It's something erotic about it. I don't know how to explain it, but it does. I don't agree that it has anything to do with power. You mentioned everything has to do with power. And this is a thing that I'm going to have to say here. Because I noticed as I read this email, he is just denying. I'm just like, yo, walk in your identity, walk in who you are. Like, it's not, I feel like, of course, with the stigma that has been attached to slavery, to racism, like, he goes on the defensive side and to try to defend himself against being associated with those constructs of racism and slavery, and it's just like, I get it. You don't want to be found guilty, right? But my nigga, walk in your shit. Oh, it's nothing better, nothing more admirable, if you ask me, than a person just walking in their truth, despite what anyone else thinks. So I think he kind of set the tone in the first paragraph of this, and I noticed that his structure and his grammar has improved since I've commented on it in previous videos. But in the first paragraph, like, he already set the foundation, the tone, that he is this person who seeks approval, he seeks validation. Him and his wife seeking approval, seeking validation. Like, They care too much about what other people think. And when you care too much about what other people think, it's difficult for you to walk in your truth, right? So you'll go around with a facade on. You're being fake. You're being phony. You're wearing a costume. This is not you inherently, right? You wrestle with these opposing forces within your own self. Just be real, man. I don't know how to explain it. You know how to explain it because you are at war, not with the world, because you're thinking about, what other people think about you. No, this is your own internal process. You are at war with yourself. And it's better for you to come to terms with who you are and to accept that, irrespective of what anyone on the outside thinks. That's difficult, though, if you live your entire life seeking approval from other people. He says, I don't agree that it has anything to do with power. You mentioned that because of slavery, it gives me joy because of my ancestors. As far as I know, my family didn't own any slaves. It's not even about that, yo. Like, I feel like he missed the whole point. He missed the whole point to argue the point of his fetish being strongly influenced by his genetic history of being tied to slave masters. You're missing the whole point for you to focus just on that. I'm not sure how the past can affect, he says effect, but it's really affect with an A, me that way. If my ancestors weren't slave owners, I really find pleasure in her being pleased. I enjoy her having power over me. I get it. So then say that. If you know that, then say that from the jump. You enjoy her having power over you because you enjoy the submissive aspect of it. And it seems like just looking at the thread, the pattern from what this guy is saying across these 3 different emails, it's kind of clear that he really enjoys the submissive role. Walk in that. I guess he's trying to understand why, though. Why do you enjoy the submissive role and being dominated? I talked about this, I think, previously. I did. I want to say, was it my very first cuckold video? No, you guys, I actually made a whole series. I have a whole playlist on YouTube entitled Cuckold. And if I'm not mistaken, it was my very first cuckold video when I was living back in Los Angeles, California, in South Central. And I was sitting in my living room and I made a video on like the psychology of cuckold relationships and why are white men attracted to this? Like, what is it? And it's stemming back to something in their childhood. Why do they like that dynamic? What is it about them that is drawing them to that, right? I talked about that. Y'all have to go back because I'm not going to keep repeating myself. Go back and watch the very first video. I think I was wearing a green skirt and a green head wrap. And that video did go viral. So go back and watch that. If you're trying to understand why you like her having power over you. I kind of hinted towards it, though. I think that sometimes it's just freeing. Like, as a submissive myself, I get it. I understand submission. Like, it's freeing for someone to have power over you. But sometimes it does stem back to something in childhood, like an unmet need in childhood. When you go back and look at how you were raised. Look at that relationship between you and your caregiver. You know, what were they like? How responsive were they in taking care of you and providing structure for you, right? And having a perceived degree of power over you. How was that? Because sometimes we crave what we lacked in childhood. And it can be the opposite. I had this debate with my professor who taught my psychodynamic class, right? And he was great, by the way. But I had a debate with him. I was just like, I agree with the whole school of thought that says that much of our behavior, or the degree of our adult behavior can be attributed to what happened during the first 5 years, and it usually stems from a lack, right, or a deficit. The things that we kind of desire and chase as an adult, we crave as adults, it stems from like a lack thereof in childhood or a deficit, right? And I had to say, perhaps that could be true, but the alternative also can be true, where it could stem from maybe a surplus. Maybe you got so much of it that it set a template for your reality and how things should be. That's just like children who are spoiled, right? If they've gotten all this attention growing up as a child in a certain way, that's what they're gonna crave. You know what I'm saying? As they develop, as they mature into adolescent and adults, that's just what they're going to expect. That people should be at their beck and call. That's how they view the world. That's what's been conditioned. That's what has been taught to them. That the world is just very responsive to you. You cry, you get what you want. You whine, you pout. Mother comes right along within a minute and give you what you want. And you develop this level of understanding early on as a child that that's how things should be and they will be. And if anything that violates that, something wrong with that person, because they're not responding to you in the way that your mom responded to you. He says, getting pregnant was a big deal because of how it happened. It was a surprise. It's not a surprise, y'all. How is this? You get pregnant, it's no surprise. What is a surprise is the Immaculate Conception. To get pregnant and still be a virgin. That's a surprise, okay? If you're fucking, even if you're taking birth control, right? That's man-made in a laboratory, and you get pregnant, that's no surprise, bruh. If you have been vaccinated with the COVID vaccine, and you still catch COVID, that's no surprise. It's called nature, okay? All right, let me stop, y'all. I know I can be a bit abrasive sometimes. Sorry. But that's just my personality. He says, I am not ashamed at all of what happened, and I don't get off seeing my wife in distress in any way. We love our firstborn. I like how he changed his language to say our and not her child, but our child. Thumbs up, because if it's really your child, then don't say it's her child. It's our child, right? You and her child. We love our firstborn as we do our second. Yes, our second is the one we made together. When it comes to your question about the genetic father, or the bull as you put it, LOL, we might have a clue, but we don't know. I'm like, yo, seriously, this is where the Jerry Springer shit comes in. Like, so it also makes me question, you don't know? So what really happened here? It's a lot of unanswered questions too. It's just like, I feel like the more I respond to his emails, the more convoluted this freaking story becomes, right? Because he's bringing up new shit, new details that weren't discussed, I think, in the first email about not knowing who the father of the first child is that came from this bull. You don't know. So it makes me wonder, okay, you did not, seems like you didn't know who she had sex with, or did you? Or it was just like random freaking guys that you guys were having sex with, or you're just having fun. I mean, people do that, going to these adult parties, these underground parties, people do that. And they go out and have fun, let's say, one night. I mean, the city of New York is opening back up. I'm feeling so happy, you guys, because, oh yeah, I'm about to have me some fun too. But my fun is very safe. And to just be out there having so much fun, you pop up pregnant and you don't know who the hell the baby daddy is. That's some, I don't know, that's some other shit right there, That's some other shit, because you just out there. You get invited to a swingers party or a cuckold party, and everybody's an adult. You're having fun. Panties come off. Fucking. It was fun. I'm pretty sure. Night of fun. So much fun. You had to do it again with somebody else. Different location. Different night. Do it all over again. Do it all over again. And then missed period. Baby comes. All you can recall is you had fun. You had sequential fun. Back to back fun. So, it is what it is. Maybe as the child gets older. I'm not sure. I don't even know if he said the age of the child. When was this? He left out a lot of, I think, pertinent information. But that's something I guess he just wants to kind of remain anonymous, because he gets too specific then. People might really know who he is, be able to put a finger on his ass, right? So I think, he left out, like, ages, for obvious reasons, but it would be helpful to know, like, for his own sake, not us, but for his own sake, When the child gets to a certain age, those characteristics are going to start showing, right? Like, the characteristics of his parents are going to start showing phenotypically on his face, you know what I'm saying, and different features in his body, his height and his bone structure. Like, it's either going to take his mom or the dad. And if maybe she can recall, damn, who does this look like? But she probably don't know. I don't know y'all's situation. I don't know what those parties went down, how they went down, if it was just a one-night thing. I mean, maybe that was a surprise in it, right? But, listen, I still think it's hilarious, yo. If this is a true story, it's hilarious. But it's just, I feel like at the same time, it can just be like a show and tell. It's like a gift and a prize that you cherish, and you're just like, okay, remember back in 2018 we had a series of extracurricular activities happen, and remember, it's just something to talk about. Interesting discussion to have with the child, when the child gets of age to understand. I mean, listen, as long as you love that child, but I still feel like it's kind of fucked up that the child will never know who his father is, though. Even though you raise him, like, that child still know, like, when he gets of age, it's gonna know, like, you're not my dad. You're not my dad, yo. It's different, just like my sister. My dad raised my sister. My sister is 3 years older than me. So when my mom met my dad, she already had a baby in tow. And then I came, and my dad took care of me and my sister very well. But, of course, she grew older and she learned that ain't your daddy. So she want to know who her daddy is. She didn't get to meet her dad until she was, well into her adulthood, right? So I think it still had an impact on her. It's going to have an impact on your child, whether you want it to or not. It is what it is. My wife had multiple partners around that time. We have talked about it, and we think it's just best for us to just know that. So it's best for you guys just to keep that under wraps. Because if the family knows, God forbid the family knows. It's just like, that's the shit that I don't like about family, so to speak. Because, yeah, judgmental, right? Who the fuck are they to judge? You know what I'm saying? I'm that kind of person. Like, I don't really care. Yes, people gonna judge, but I understand you don't want to hear like that negativity. You just rather not tell them, right? Because you don't need them formulating their own opinions and their own stories, and stories can get twisted and taken out of context, right? I get it. So that's just between you and your wife, that she had multiple partners around that time, which you allowed. You said it was perfectly fine for her to do. But it seems like through all of this that I'm reading, it sounds like I'm hearing regret. You're satisfied. She's in distress. That's what I'm calling bullshit, yo. I'm calling bullshit because you're saying that you don't necessarily gain power from this situation by being the husband, the white husband, and having a degree of power over who she sleeps with, who the bull is, right? You X that scenario out of the equation. You said, no, that's not it. But then you want to explain it away to say that you gain satisfaction by seeing her happy? How the fuck, you said, these are your words in your second paragraph, second to last sentence. You said, and I quote, I really find pleasure in her being pleased. How the fuck you find pleasure in her being pleased if she's in distress? I guess that's where your fake sadness comes at in your last email to say, oh, you feel somewhat bad. How the hell does that make any sense? But it makes a lot of sense if you look at the dynamic that you guys have, where you're the submissive man and she's supposedly the dominant woman. See, that's where the problems come in, right? So she's the dominant woman. She calls the shots, right, in that relationship. And you just go along with it, even if it's not in anyone's best interest. She want to go out there and be fucking Tom, Dick, Harry, Larry, all these different men, and a random baby comes up that you sound like you're taking care of, and you just going along with it? Sounds like you don't really appreciate your own self as a man. How can you value and respect and have dignity for yourself? I don't care if you are submissive. You can be submissive, but you don't mean your common sense and your self-respect go out the window. I'm a submissive, but I still set boundaries, right? Because I have respect for myself. I don't become a doormat. That don't make any sense. So your house, that's what they said, a man's supposed to be the head of the household. Be able to make some decisions. Calculated, well thought out decisions. Now, I just said you can't have fun. I'm all for the fun. But you gotta be strategic in this. Because it's gonna fall back on you, bruh. Whether you the submissive or the dominant in a relationship, it's falling back on you. And you worried about what family thinks about you. Not so much your family, your nuclear family, but her family is the one that's judgmental. And maybe you have some own guilt. Apart from, because people try to say, oh, they looking at me a certain kind of way. I'm worried about, or I'm affected by how they're looking at me, how they see me. Well, really, that's your own thought process. You tripped up because you got your own guilt apart from what the family think. That's your own guilty conscience, right? We all have a conscience. This thing that's inside of us. That, yes, it's shaped by socialization, by what society thinks. Society includes our family members, right? People outside of us. But that's just something that's innate within us, too. That thing, that conscious thing in us that tells us what's right from wrong. That's your own conscience. Fucking with you. We love our son like we do our second child. You said that already. So are you trying to convince me or are you trying to convince yourself? Because for you to say the same thing more than once, when you've already said it, you said that. Did you not? You said that. You said that in the same paragraph, yo. That's the same paragraph. You said the first time you said, yes, our second is the one we made together. We love our firstborn as we do our second. Then you had to punctuate that same paragraph by saying it again. We love our son like we do our second child. As far as we are concerned, it's my child. Do you, though? Do you? You don't have to convince me. Because after this video, right, it ends, right? I'm going to go and live my life. You know what I'm saying? I got my own life to live. I don't have any kids yet, thank God. You gotta face your own reality. You don't have to convince me. You email me because this is a topic that relates to you, that I like to talk about, I'm open to talking about, and that other people can identify with. Other people can definitely relate to your situation, so I thank you for being so courageous to share your story. People don't know who you are. Your identity has not been disclosed. It's being kept private, okay? Confidential. No one knows who you are. But you know who you are. And you know what it really is. You should know. Maybe you're not aware. But deep down inside, your subconscious knows. You don't love that first child like you do your second. And no one is blaming you for that, right? It's okay to love your biological offspring more than you would love a child that you choose to freaking adopt. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. That's not your offspring. That child didn't come from your loin. So why do you feel the need to rationalize or explain away your love for a child that is not even coming from your DNA? You're doing that for your wife's sake? To make her feel better? Please. I knew my dad loved me more than he loved my sister. Now, of course, he was just like you, try to pretend like, oh, I love both of them. You know, whatever Danielle get, her sister gets, right? In terms of Christmas gifts and attention and all of that treatment. But no, I definitely got much more attention from my dad. I think also the aspect of the biological child knowing, right? Because I know that was my dad. And I was young enough, I think, to know also that my dad wasn't my sister's dad. Either way, like, I demanded attention. My dad gave me all the attention that I needed growing up. I don't remember him giving my sister that level of attention. It's different, okay? For parents to make it seem like, oh, I love all of my children the same, even their biological children, right? That come from them. they still have their favorites, their preferences. They love each child in a different way because each child is different. Just keep it 100. But anyway, we have talked to another couple that got pregnant by a different man, and what they said you kind of touched based on. If you love each other and love what you do, you love what comes out of it. Of course, you can still love it. Don't mean you're going to love it the same, but you can still love it. I think you alluded to the fact that I wasn't satisfied and that it might be a defense mechanism. I just said that to question you so that you can make sure that what you're saying is true and honest and correct. Because I think sometimes people, they endorse a certain attitude, belief, or feeling, right? But it doesn't mean that they don't also they don't also have the opposing viewpoint. You can hold opposing perspectives, beliefs, and feelings within yourself at the same time. So that's all I was doing, is exploring both options, right? Because it's there. I'm pretty sure mixed feelings, people have mixed feelings all the time. And that's okay. That's actually a healthier way of existing in the world, to hold multiple feelings about a situation, experience, a thing at the same time. That speaks to a degree of maturity to be able to do that. Deep down, I do find satisfaction about it. I probably should have been more precise about my wife's feelings. My wife doesn't regret it. I guess, I think this is the reason why I was reluctant to do this video, because there's just a lot of bullshit. It's just bullshit, you know what I'm saying? Of course she regrets it. That's just the regurgitated response people like to say. Oh, I have no regrets in life. None whatsoever. I wouldn't change a thing. Okay, that could possibly be true in certain aspects. But I'm sure you would. You would. If you had the power. You don't have the power. So given that you don't have the power to go back and change, your way of coming to a resolution of that issue is to accept it. You have no choice but to accept it, right? So you are accepting it, which is necessary to your progress, to your growth. But if the question is asked, do you regret it? Don't deny if you regret it, because if deep down inside, if you held the power within you to go and do something different, one thing different, when you said that there was a point in time when your wife had multiple partners around that time, and to go back and just change one little thing, you would. But you can't, so of course you have no regrets. I guess I kind of agree. He has some missing words here. You got to proofread before you send. What you were saying is kind of like a trophy or the sign of her dominion over me. So yes, it's really satisfying to me that did happen. You just sound like a guy with low self-esteem. It's one thing to enjoy submission, but I wouldn't be surprised. During our second pregnancy, she would use that as a stimulant. Stimulant? What? A stimulant? Is that the right word? She would use the first child that she had from another man as a stimulant. Like as a tool. To exert her dominance over you. Honestly, if she got pregnant again, I would be happy. If she was white, I would understand why it would be harder and would cause her even more distress, not just from her family, but the public. It would be harder on me too, because it would be more obvious. On that note, you mentioned black breeding, impregnating someone else's wife. How can we find pleasure in it if it has to do with slave? People find a lot of pleasure in things that are considered to be diabolical. Doesn't mean you can't find pleasure. Like, this is where I call bullshit. The same way you find pleasure in another man fucking your wife. It's like his rationale, his logic is, oh, how can we find pleasure in things that are bad? Like slavery. The same way you find pleasure in cuckold. That's considered bad. Same way little children find pleasure in breaking the rules and going against what their parents tell them not to do. Just something about going against the grain that gives people pleasure. Slavery and racism is wrong. So doesn't this make it wrong? Here we go. Does it make it any less racist if the wife is white? Okay, so you're saying the dynamic of you being the white, you being perceived like or likened to a white slave master in this situation, and having a black wife as your slave, and breeding her with another black male slave. You're saying, would it be different if she was a white woman? Of course, because you would take away that aspect. The racial aspect here. This video is about interracial relationship. Race play. Are we talking about race play or are we not talking about race play? I don't think you know what race play is. Race play is more than just, oh, we have people from different races and we're playing. No, race play is deeper than that. When we talk about race play, we're talking about playing on aspects of racism here. Playing on aspects of the subjugation of one race to another. That's race play. It's play because it's consensual, you know, there's no harm in it. It's just like rape play, where consenting adults, mutually consenting adults agree. All right, I'm gonna let you take sex from me, right? Have sex with me against my will. So he's saying, oh, isn't it a bad thing? Is it a bad thing if everyone agrees to it? So he's wrestling with this idea in his own mind. You gotta ask yourself, why are you attracted? We gotta go back to elementary school here. Let's go back. Let's go all the way back. Why were you attracted to her as a black woman? Don't say, oh, love is blind. That's just something about her. Like, what gets me is people who try to like act like they don't see race, right? But then you clearly title the email Race Play. So why say race play? Why call it race play? What's race play about it, yo? What is race play about this? If you don't want to talk about racism or contextualize this in terms of slavery and racism, I'm not calling you racist. I can give a fuck about that. I'm not married to you. I'm not with you. You seem to be a responsible man here. You're just not honest. You're not forthcoming with yourself. You don't have anything to prove. I see that, I mean, you already made it clear from the beginning that you care a lot about what other people think. So you want to be perceived as this pure, innocent, white man. Why are you attracted to her? Why were you attracted to her in the first place? Why? She's a black woman. You're a white man. In the context of a society that we live in, you guys do live in America, right? Where do you live? It don't even matter because that shit is global, okay? White supremacy, or the system of what it is, as some of my friends may like to call it, is global. So let's not act like that doesn't exist, right? Let's not act like that dynamic, that unspoken dynamic in our world doesn't exist. Like, oh, you don't live in that world. You live in that world. I think it's more satisfying. You want to talk about satisfaction? It's more satisfying to come to your real truth, to really understand, because until then, you're just going to be going in circles. And I'm going to allow you to continue to go in circles. I thought that what you shared was worth making a video about and discussing, because other people can relate. It's very interesting stuff here. It's good meat to chew on. But you got to go do some soul searching, bruh. You do some soul searching. Your wife, you do some soul searching. This is actually an area that I'm interested in. People ask me all the time, like, what do you plan to do as a licensed psychologist going forward when I do get licensed? And I think it should be no surprise. Of course, people who know me, familiar with me, and my research is on Black identity, acculturation, and implicit racial bias. My interest, my clinical interest, is along the same lines, and of course, the population, or populations, I shall say, that I am interested in working with fall within that dynamic. I do see myself hosting interracial therapy groups. I think that's very important to the progress of our society as a whole. And on that note, I'm going to end this video. Did I address everything? Yeah, I think all these questions that he has at the end is like, oh, if his wife was white and he allowed her to get pregnant by a black man, there's still a racial component there. And you probably feel like, I feel like the fact that any man, for that matter, allows his wife to have sex with other men, I mean, it shows that, yes, he's free, he's open, nothing better than just living a free life, but it also shows that there's something lacking. You gotta be something lacking there, yo. Just keep it real. Something lacking. Come on. There's a deficit that you can't fill. Another man can, and has, and does, and did more beyond filling that need, but also creating a baby in the situation. But it doesn't mean that, oh, you don't have like those attitudes of wanting to dominate. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can still be both submissive and dominant too at the same time. Part of you can have reasons for wanting to submit, part of you can have reasons for wanting a bit of control. It goes deep, you guys. And even if she was white, it doesn't take away the possibility of, oh, you wanting to do it to tap into that feeling of being a master. So what if she's white? You still giving her away to other men to fuck. For them to enjoy. For her to enjoy herself. And you say you get pleasure from it? Alright. I'm going to end on that note. Catch you guys later. You guys have a great one. I'll show this video.